So, do you see the Gospel of John as a historical account based on true eyewitness testimony of a man who walked with Jesus for 3 years, who saw personally, who watched him die, who watched Jesus die on the cross, and then he saw Jesus multiple times following his resurrection? Or is the Gospel of John just a story that maybe you hope to be true, but you just aren't really sure that there's any real proof? Because how we feel about the strength of our evidence, man, that plays a big role in how willing we are to put that evidence under the spotlight in front of others. You see, no one wants to proclaim a belief in something only to have someone else poke a hole in your belief that you can't recover from. So, where does our confidence in the Bible come from? How can we be so sure that Jesus rose from the dead, that Thomas and the other disciples, how they touched the scars with their fingers and they placed their hand in Jesus' side? Well, let me just give you one line of evidence that maybe you've never considered. Over the course of human history, we've come to learn that there are many people who are willing to die for a belief that they are convinced is true. In fact, the radical Islamic terrorists, right, who hijacked planes on 9/11, who crashed them into buildings on American soil, they were willing to give up their own lives. They were willing to die because they believed that what they were doing was commanded by their God, Allah, and that by committing these acts of terror against non-Muslims, it would gain them favor from Allah in the afterlife. Undoubtedly, these men, they were convinced that their religious beliefs were true. But the biggest problem that they had was that they couldn't know it to be true for a fact, could they? You see, they weren't there back in the 7th century when Muhammad was supposedly receiving these quote-unquote revelations from an angel. This group of terrorists that orchestrated 9/11, they only had a belief in something that they were hoping to be true. And this is the same issue that martyrs of other religions all throughout history have faced. All of them were willing to die for what they believed to be true, but not a single one of them died for what they knew to be true without a doubt. But the disciples of Jesus Christ, they had a different kind of situation and experience, didn't they? You see, according to the best history that we have, all of the apostles, apart from John, all of the apostles came to the end of their lives with a chance to escape and to minimize their pain and escape death. If they would just recant, if they would deny the gospel of Jesus Christ. And if what these men claimed to be true, if it was all part of a lie, if it was all a grand conspiracy that they had made up in order to create some new religion, chances are most of them, if not all of them, they would have come clean. They would have tried to save their necks if what they had said was true, if they knew it in their hearts to be a lie. I mean, if you think about the guys who were busted for the Watergate scandal back in the 1970s, they caved within 2 weeks with only the threat of jail time. But the apostles of Jesus, they faced torture, they faced suffering, they faced certain death, unless they would deny what they had been teaching about Jesus. But every single one of them, they accepted their persecution. They accepted their death. Not because they were braver or more committed to a cause than any other person. No, they did it because they were the only ones in a position to know for sure that what they were saying was actually 100% true and accurate. You see, that's why they were willing to die for their beliefs. They could not. They would not deny all that they had seen, all that they experienced with the resurrected Jesus. If it had been a hoax, if it had been a joke or a conspiracy, at least one, if not all of these guys, they would have come clean about their lie faster than I can dry my hair after I get out of the shower. It's fast. But the apostles of Jesus Christ, they died a martyr's death because they weren't willing to call something a lie that they knew by their own experience and evidence to be absolutely and indisputably true.